On February 23, 2020, Ahmaud Arbery, a 25-year-old black man, went out for a jog before he was chased and then killed by 3 white men. The men would claim they thought Arbery was robbing a nearby property and then acted in self-defense against him. Nearly 1 year later, those 3 men were convicted of murder charges. Arbery's killing came amid a heightened national reckoning on race and racial justice in the wake of several killings of unarmed Black Americans. The guilty verdicts in the case of Ahmaud Arbery came nearly 1 week after the acquittal of Kyle Rittenhouse for the shooting and killing 2 men and injuring a third after racial justice protests following the shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Both the Rittenhouse and Arbery trials became touchpoints for many Americans who view the criminal justice system as biased against people of color. We spoke with legal and racial justice experts about what we can take away from the Arbery case amid this larger landscape of the intersection of race and the U.S. justice system. Hank Klibanoff, Emory University professor and host of the Civil Rights Cold Cases podcast Buried Truths: This case was just so shockingly like the cases that we do out of the 1940s and the 1950s, when we look back at these unpunished, racially motivated killings, and not just in the way the men chased and hunted down Ahmaud Arbery and the way they killed him, but the way the criminal justice system manhandled the case after that, and tried to turn the assailants free and say they were within their rights to try to do what they did.
Eastern Time T. Adams, author and civil and defense lawyer. We've learned how difficult it is to hold people accountable in our justice system when they are the color of Ahmaud Arbery and myself. I don't think people should miss this fact. We had a trial. We had a verdict today. But look at how much it took for us to get there. There was an opportunity for this case to have never been brought up at all had it not been for the footage that we've seen of the murder that was committed of Mr. Arbery. Aisha Hardaway, Associate Professor of Law, Case Western Reserve University School of Law. I think we should be under no delusion that racial profiling results in the death of black and brown people in this country every day, and that the dangers of these citizen arrest laws empower racial profiling and vigilantism. I think it is important for us to not be tempted to extrapolate too much about where we are as a country from one case to the next. The patchwork system that is our criminal legal system, with various states having their own specific set of laws, as well as sort of community standards and expectations, what may be appalling in one state could be completely acceptable in another. And I think as long as that's the reality that we are dealing with, it's hard to extrapolate out, or have our finger on the pulse of where we are as a nation. And also where we think we've made strides in terms of securing racial justice, it can quickly be made apparent that we haven't. Hank Klibanoff, racial equity in the justice system is still very hard to get. Does this verdict today make me feel better? Sure, it does. And it looks to have been a thoughtful decision. And you wonder how many of them saw the video months ago and immediately had formed some idea that this just is not right and just carried that into the courtroom and found no reason from anything the defense said to turn away from that idea. To me, it's hopeful. It was hopeful. Eastern Time T. Adams, this case screams loudly the need to diversify the legal field right now. You have rates of prosecutors being 90% white. You have criminal defendants, who make up the criminal justice system, being predominantly black. And if those numbers don't spell it out enough, then it should definitely be spelled out with some of the cases that we're seeing currently in the news. And I think that people have to understand that this isn't just about equality in terms of the person's complexion. This is about equality in terms of fairness, in terms of experience, in terms of people having the opportunity to be around different people with different makeups and different backgrounds. That's the only way to get it right. You know, I've been in several cases where a judge will make a decision based off of looking at a defendant and being able to say, you know, I know what it's like to be a kid like you. That plays a part in our justice system. Kim Taylor Thompson, that when someone, 3 men in this instance, take the law into their hands, on that occasion, we will stop them and we will hold them accountable for their actions. So I think the takeaway is that we can do this. I think that the lingering question is, will we do it? Going forward, what lessons have we learned from this, and will we do more to address the underlying racism that clearly motivated these 3 men? Aisha Hardaway, the patchwork nature of our criminal legal system from one state to the next really makes it difficult to assess on a national level right where we are when you have the Wisconsin verdict come out just days before this verdict. I think looking at those two together should help us understand that as much as many may feel like justice has been done in one case, others will definitely feel like it wasn't enough in the one before. Hank, Clive North. I grew up in the South. We were racially conditioned to view black people as inferior. I was born in 1949, 5 years before Brown v. Board of Education. I think that racial conditioning is still there, by the way. Not nearly as strongly. I think a lot of people have had to work hard to overcome it, but I do believe it's still there. Eastern Time T. Adams. We know for a fact that this was about race. We know for a fact that the reason that the men chased after Mr. Arbery was because of his race. If it would have been a white man jogging through, they probably would have waved and offered a cup of lemonade. But because it was Mr. Arbery, he just had to be criminal activity. But this is a historical depiction that our society is dealing with that needs to come down. We portray black men as being criminal and a threat for so long that we've embedded it into the fabric of our society. We have to go through and thread by thread, take away these ridiculous preconceived notions that if a black man is in a certain spot, or if he looks a certain way, he has to be doing something criminal.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.